Boxing truth here. Chris Eubank Jr. has already set his sights on the winner between Kell Brook and Gennady Golovkin. But Eubank Jr. is going to do a couple of things. First, he's got to tell his father to fall back on negotiations. Two, he's got to get into position, especially if he wants to get a Triple G fight later in the year, or fight the winner of Kell Brook and Gennady Golovkin. Now, Kell Brook already told Eubank Jr. when they were trading words at each other that to be careful what you wish for. That he's going to show him how it's done against Triple G when he steps into the ring with him later this year. But Eubank Jr. needs to realize that he was one of the last options for Golovkin for that proposed fight when they were in negotiations. Eubank Jr. was Golovkin's fourth option, I believe. Golovkin wanted Canelo. He couldn't get him. Then he wanted Saunders. He couldn't get him. Then he wanted Danny Jacobs, but Jacobs wanted he wanted some warm-up fight. So he couldn't get him. So he put his attention to Eubank Jr. because he was a guy that was barking at him. Was also a UK fight that Golovkin wanted, and also a money fight. So he figured, hey, he's a British champion, but he's a money fight. He's talking shit. Maybe he wants to fight me. But the fight didn't materialize. Kell Brook ends up getting the fight, and now Junior, he's devastated. He just lost out on the biggest fight of his career, the biggest payday of his career, and possibly can go from fighting for over £3 million to possibly fighting for less than $3 million, maybe less than $100K for a British title defense. That would just be embarrassing to Eubank Jr. I mean, where would the motivation be to train for that type of fight? To go from being in a high profile fight against Golovkin to losing out on that payday in the fight of his career, to possibly defending his British title for way less money. I mean, that would just kill your motivation to train. But Junior needs to realize that he needs to put himself into position if he even wants a chance at getting Triple G later in the year, or if Triple G wins his fight against Kell Brook, which most expect to do anyways. So there's something that Eubank Jr. could do to not only improve his chances of getting the fight with Golovkin, if he truly wants it, if he can get his negotiating up to par, and if his dad even can deliver him the big fights. But he needs to fight Danny Jacobs. He's for a long time been a contender to Jacobs' regular strap. He was at one time the mandatory challenger to Jacobs' regular strap. But Eubank made a couple of moves that got him away from that position by opting to fight for a British title. But he's still top rated within the WBA. And according to Jacobs, as he was looking for opponents for his next, he still doesn't have a date. Still doesn't have an opponent, but they're saying Sergio Mora might be the opponent. But it's still, nothing has been finalized yet. So I'm thinking, you know what? Why not Junior go after Danny Jacobs? He's already talked in the past, Junior, that Jacobs will get his soon enough. Well, why not now? Why not next? Jacobs still doesn't have an opponent. He still hasn't finalized his next date yet, or opponent. Jacobs claims that he wanted Eubank and he wanted Saunders for his next proposed fight date, whenever it is, but that he couldn't get those fights to materialize. But now that Junior has nothing, he has no options in place. He has nothing on the table. Golovkin's off the table. Saunders is fighting on September 17th, possibly on Canelo's undercard. And I'm hearing Saunders may be in with a big name. He might eventually fight David Lemieux. Nothing finalized, but that's what I'm hearing, that Lemieux could be Saunders' next opponent. So Junior has no options right now on the table. He's shit out of luck. But Jacobs is right there. He still doesn't have an opponent, still doesn't have his date finalized. If I'm Eubank Jr.'s team, I reach out to Jacobs. Get a shot at Jacobs. Jacobs needs a more desirable opponent. He's not really interested in fighting Moore again, but that's no other options are being presented to him. So maybe Team Heyman, maybe they'd be interested in matching Junior with Jacobs. But there has to be dialogue between the two camps. If there isn't, then the fight won't be made. But we'll see. I mean, I have no idea what Junior's going to do next. It's very likely it's going to be another domestic fight, British title defense. But if he wants to truly get that Golovkin fight, he needs to put himself in position. He needs to realize that he was one of the final options for Golovkin. That's the only reason why Golovkin was even interested in the fight, because no other guys would fight him. No other of his priorities would fight him. The priorities for Golovkin is Saunders and Jacobs, because they hold the other straps in the middleweight division. So Junior needs to get himself in position, get himself more of a chance of getting that fight if he truly wants it. And that is going after Jacobs, taking his regular strap, his bullshit belt, whatever, and then being the mandatory to Golovkin. Because Golovkin also might have obligations after the Brook fight, if he gets past that assignment. He might have Mando obligations. The WBA are already trying to get rid of their multiple belts in each division. They might enforce the mandatory. The IBF only gives you 9 months before you have to make it mandatory. The WBC, they have their own rules. They might enforce the mandatory, since Highland's been the number one contender for I don't know how long. But the WBC only enforces mandatories when there's a lot of money involved. Sometimes they take 2 to 3 years to enforce mandatories. It all depends on how much name recognition the number one contender has, how much a market value he has, how much money he can bring to the table. The higher the sanctioning fees, then the WBC will consider enforcing a mandatory at that point. But I'm just saying, Junior needs to think about his next move. He needs to start doing something in his career. He needs to start challenging for world titles. He always says that he's ready for world level, that he feels he's a contender, that he can challenge for world titles. Well, he needs to start doing it. He needs to go after Danny Jacobs. He needs to call Danny Jacobs' bluff to see if Jacobs is telling the truth about, did he really pursue a fight with the Eubank? Because if Junior's team reaches out to Jacobs and Jacobs ends up fighting Sergio Mora again, then we all know Jacobs is full of shit. That, this guy has no control of his career, has to do what Heyman tells him to do. Well, Junior needs to start taking more control of his career. Start demanding bigger fights. Start challenging for world titles. Jacobs is the perfect fight for Junior. If he beats Jacobs, it'll put him to position as the number one contender to Gennady's WBA title. And then Golovkin will make Eubank Jr. one of his priorities if Junior could somehow get a Jacobs fight next and beat him. But that's Junior's only next move right now. Other than that, if he doesn't get the Jacobs fight, maybe he won't get it, probably won't get it, but if he doesn't get that fight, he's going to end up fighting for chump change in a British title defense or another domestic level fight. And it'll be pretty much of a, he'll had an active year if he fight, he's probably going to fight again, of course, September, October timeframe, whatever. But it'll be kind of a lost year. Just 3 British title defenses, no big fights, no world title challenge, no high profile fight, no big money fight. It's like pretty much no progression has happened in his career. He's staying at the same level. He needs to take that step up. That's what we're waiting for. I believe he's ready for world level. I believe he can beat a lot of top middleweights. But he needs to go out there and prove it. So we'll see what your next move is, Junior. You looking bad right now, looking like a daddy's boy, a chump. All that shit, couldn't even get that big fight. You let a welterweight take that fight from you, and he's talking shit at you, saying that you never wanted to fight, Kell Brooks said. That he's going to show you how to deal with Triple G. That you watch and tune in. But we'll see what happens with Junior's career in the near future. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.